Throughout my extensive career in funeral management, spanning over 2 decades, I have encountered a multitude of experiences dealing with various types of deceased individuals. From those who passed away due to accidents, old age, heart disease, and even suicide, I have witnessed the diverse circumstances surrounding death. However, it was a few years ago when I encountered a rather peculiar and haunting case that left a lasting impact on me. This incident, which occurred just 2 days before the new year, was unlike anything I had ever encountered before. Unfortunately, I am unable to disclose the specific location or the identity of the deceased individual involved. It was purely coincidental that I found myself in this situation, as I had initially visited a friend's house to provide comfort and support during the final moments of his mother's life. My sole intention was to offer solace and healing to his grieving family. Little did I know that fate had a different plan in store for me. As I was preparing to depart from my friend's house, the son of the deceased individual approached me, having already spoken to my friend earlier. He earnestly requested my assistance in caring for his father's body. This unexpected turn of events marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey that would teach me invaluable lessons, while simultaneously evoking feelings of sadness, fear, and curiosity. Worried about the consequences of leaving the body unattended, I agreed to go to the deceased's house. However, the moment I stepped inside, a strong and repulsive smell hit my senses, emanating from the decaying corpse. Despite my experience with handling bodies, I had never encountered such a nauseating and decomposed stench before. As I looked at the lifeless face of the deceased, a whirlwind of emotions seemed to engulf me. Fear, anxiety, and irritation were just a few of the overwhelming sentiments that washed over me. In an effort to prepare the body for the funeral, I took a white cloth provided by the deceased's son and began cutting it. Coincidentally, 2 individuals who had also attended the funeral training were present, and I asked for their assistance, which they willingly offered. However, an unexpected incident took place while they were bathing the corpse. It is customary to slightly elevate the body and massage the stomach to aid in the release of any bodily waste. As I started massaging the deceased's stomach, a peculiar event unfolded. Instead of excrement exiting through the anus, it began to come out of the mouth. This bewildering occurrence left me startled, my heart racing, and my mind questioning the bizarre situation that was unfolding right in front of me. The putrid stench filled the room as the lifeless body lay before me. I had already witnessed the horrifying sight of excrement spewing from the corpse's mouth not once, but twice. Praying that it wouldn't happen again, I cautiously began massaging the stomach, hoping to provide some comfort in the final moments. However, to my disbelief, as my hands pressed against the lifeless form, a grotesque scene unfolded before my eyes. Along with the excrement, a writhing mass of live worms emerged from the corpse's mouth. These repulsive creatures, known as intestinal worms or parasitic worms, were a sickening shade of white. The origin of these worms remains a mystery, one that I cannot fathom. The deceased had succumbed to a heart attack, and the time between his passing and my arrival to manage the situation was a mere 5.5 hours. It was baffling how rapidly his body had deteriorated in such a short span of time. As I glanced at the face of the deceased's son, I could see a mixture of surprise, perhaps even shame, and shock etched upon his features. The same emotions were mirrored by the 2 assistants who had witnessed the unsettling events unfold. Urgently, I requested one of the assistants to summon all of the deceased's children. Remarkably, he had been blessed with 5 sons. When the children arrived, I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger towards them. I reminded them that my role was solely to assist in managing their father's remains, not to bear the full responsibility. As his children, it was their duty to take care of their father's final arrangements. I reminded them of the times when their mother was occupied, and their father selflessly bathed and cared for them. It was a father's love and sacrifice. However, I couldn't help but feel disappointed that in a time like this, the children seemed hesitant to repay their father's kindness. Seeking their permission and assistance, I requested their help in carrying the body. As we carefully lowered the deceased's body to the ground, a chilling sight unfolded before us. The intestinal worms, still alive and wriggling, began to emerge in great numbers. The panic in the room intensified, but I remained composed, desperately hoping that no more bizarre occurrences would transpire. Following the bathing of the body, I carefully transported it to the designated room, ensuring that only close relatives were present to witness the ceremony. My intention was to prevent any further distressing incidents from occurring. As I laid the corpse on the pristine white cloth, I realized that it barely covered the head and legs. It almost seemed as though the cloth itself resisted embracing the body. Perhaps I had made an error while cutting it. Determined to rectify the situation, I promptly retrieved additional fabric, cutting and securing it in the areas that lacked coverage. Admittedly, the cloth was not of the highest quality, but it was the best I could do. Simultaneously, I offered my prayers, seeking solace in the midst of this somber task. Following this, I proceeded to provide a briefing on the funeral prayers. However, a new predicament arose when it became apparent that we lacked a hearse to transport the body to the cemetery. Despite my efforts to contact my usual source, their hearse was already in use. Just as despair began to settle in, a kind-hearted individual appeared, offering their assistance. They requested a moment to retrieve their van from the garage. Soon enough, the van arrived, but as the driver searched for a suitable parking spot near the deceased's house, an unexpected obstacle emerged. The driver's wife emerged from the house and, with unwavering determination, publicly declared, "Husband, I forbid you from using our car to transport the body. During the deceased's lifetime, he never allowed us to ride in his car." It was clear that there was more to this statement than met the eye. Without a valid reason, a gentlewoman would never utter such words. Consequently, I instructed the van's owner to return it, realizing that this unexpected turn of events had left us without a means of transportation. Following that, a gentleman emerged offering his assistance. He requested my permission to clean his car within a time frame of 10 to 15 minutes. As the designated period elapsed, the vehicle arrived, but to my surprise it was drenched. Curiously enough, the car he referred to was actually a truck, specifically employed by the man for selling poultry. Reflecting on it, have we ever witnessed a corpse being transported to its final resting place in a chicken truck? En route to the cemetery, I discreetly informed the two assistants beforehand, ensuring that the members of our community would not be inconvenienced by aiding us in burying the deceased prematurely. Instead, I advised them to visit the graves of their loved ones and acquaintances, as it would be more suitable. I wished to spare them from witnessing any further peculiar occurrences. Unfortunately, it seemed that my apprehensions were not unfounded. Upon reaching the grave, I instructed 3 of the deceased's sons to descend into the pit, while 3 additional individuals lowered the body. Astonishingly, just as the corpse touched the earth, an unexpected torrent of black putrid water gushed forth from the previously dry cracks in the ground. There had been no rainfall that day, so where did this water originate from? It is a question that perplexes me greatly. Subsequently, I directed the deceased's children to carefully place their father's body, removing the lid of the coffin and promptly opening the grave. Following this, we proceeded to compact the soil, ensuring its smoothness to prevent any settling when rain inevitably arrived. Strangely enough, I noticed that the ground beneath my feet seemed to shift, as if transforming into a marshy terrain. I realized, with a heavy heart, that the body had been submerged by the foul black water. Observing the situation, I promptly instructed the deceased's children to refrain from stepping on the ground any further. Instead, they were to leave a quarter-meter of space, filling and marking it as a boundary. This meant that the grave would not be buried up to the surface level, but rather resemble a pit with an opening. As I gazed upon the ground, I noticed the faint signs of water being absorbed into the earth. This was a truly unprecedented occurrence in the entire tapestry of my life. Realizing the gravity of the situation, I resolved to expedite the funeral proceedings without delay. Once the somber ceremony concluded, I made my way to the home of the departed, where I gathered the grieving family. With a heavy heart, I posed a question to the widow. Had she ever oppressed the righteous, acquired wealth through illicit means, resorted to deceit, bribery, or misappropriated funds meant for orphans? Alas, The widow remained silent, perhaps too ashamed to respond. Leaving my contact details, I hoped for a future conversation. Regrettably, not a single one of the deceased's children reached out to me, which left me disheartened. It is worth noting that the deceased's offspring were highly educated individuals, with one having married a German spouse, another an Australian, and the third a Japanese. My sorrow deepened when I received a call from the two individuals who had assisted me in managing the body. They expressed remorse for their involvement, as the deceased's children had turned against them. I inquired if they had shared the story with the community, to which they replied in the negative. This event will forever be etched in my memory. It compels us, as a community, to introspect and ponder whether we desire such a fate for ourselves, our parents, our children, or our loved ones. Do we wish for this cycle to perpetuate until one day society deems it as ordinary? We appreciate your viewership and hope you enjoyed today's video. To stay updated with similar content, we encourage you to subscribe and activate the notification bell. If you have any personal experiences related to the video, we would love to hear from you. Join us on this thrilling journey as we delve into the world of horror stories.